Confidence is where a lot of the speed comes in. Oh my goodness! Saves it! How in the world?
It comes from very far back, but was able to get the car slowed up.
And he knew. Look at how early he positioned himself. I would not have been that confident. That is amazing. What a save from Warren. And there, yeah, that is brave stuff. Rint doesn't usually offer up a chance to pass. And then Warren, who was eager to try and retake it, looked like I thought he was going to get a great run on the front stretch, just goosed it too hard.
Oh, and their teammates apparently, from what I've been told. So yeah, rule number 1: never hit your teammate. And let's take a look at what happened. So that's Karjalainen going around the outside of the S's, getting the car to roll through. He's got the inside for the corner, a little bit of a slide. And I don't know about you, DJ, but that's gonna be a racing incident, I think, 50-50.
Olton is a very, very narrow circuit. You're not able to get as clear as you think, as we got a little bit of side-by-side talk about aggressive moves from a Jordan Svetnov.
Jordan Svetnov's not done, though, here, because Stephen Orr was trying to get back underneath.
We're still side by side with Sanchez, though. He's given it another go. Did he learn lessons from last time? This time he cuts back a lot earlier. Will that help him out as he goes for the back and forth once again? But this time, Walker is the one who has gotten wise from that one. He covers off, clear around the outside, though. Holy cow! Sanchez learned his own little trick, and that's the one that gets him the spot.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spider's in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
With the Spa 24 Hours last week gone as a distraction, we hope to see more of the big dogs back on track here at Phillip Island. However, this season has looked a little chaotic in how the two classes have interacted on track. With how poorly this place typically works for multi-class racing, it may be less about speed and more about taking care to make it to the end. We'll see if that's the case as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Camel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Phillip Island may not have the fame that Bathurst does, but it's quite the historic Australian circuit. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening Ewan. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old-school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earthen embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around. Well, the good news is, Adam, this place tends to put on a good show, but that good show might be a bit frantic for these two classes.
Absolutely, Joe. If you joined us for the first time last week, doff your cap to the high-speed sweepers and welcome in a challenging medium to low-speed circuit. Phillip Island is a 2.76 mile or 4.45 kilometer 12-turn anti-clockwise 2.5-lane precariously perched seaside circuit. Its locale feels more like a seaside resort golf course than a location for a racetrack, and that locale ends up playing a huge role into how this place drives. The Nissans will find this circuit quite challenging, as the first corner, Doohan, and the third corner, Stoner, will be the only comfortable high-speed portions of the track for them, but they are complicated by high winds off the southeastern tip of Australia, and the sand that blows up onto the south edge of the track, making traction very hard to find. The rest of the circuit is the Audi's territory, with hard braking zones and tight twisting turns that are a joy to drive in the box. Multi-class around here, however, has always been a torrid affair, especially in the second sector, from Honda through MG, where the constantly changing line and 20-mile-per-hour speed difference at the apex for the two classes make for many a coming together. Passing around here is a challenge as well, with the best place to pass being a good shot out of Swan onto the Gardner Straight, making sure to clear before sweeping of Doohan, or staying close and making a late braking move into Honda. Anywhere else, and you're simply hoping to capitalize on the mistakes of your competitors. With the grassy runoffs that fall away from the track on every side, there's likely to be many mistakes today. Joe, this track is always exciting with Camel GT, and I have a feeling today will be no different.
Indeed. And, well, unfortunately for fans who are hoping for continuance of the close fight for the championship lead, it's not going to be the case today. Xavier Sanchez is not here. So that leaves the door open for Sintez Galindo to take the points lead back once again. Lau Stolson is still trailing behind and just hasn't really shown the speed that we're used to out of him. In fact, he wasn't able to capitalize on the maximum points without both Sanchez and Sintez Galindo here last time out. In fact, he's got about a 3-point separation between himself and Joseph Mudrack for that third spot. They got a tie for sixth that even has two more cars within 2 points, or 3 points rather, with Jungluth, Gabbiani, Power, Mastretta, and Doenbaugh all fighting for sixth position. And then Jack Wells not too far behind them as well. So all still to fight for, farther back in the pack, but it's been mostly a two-horse race up at the front. What about the GTO standings?
Well, Javier Del Olmo leads by 22 points, but then there's a big shakeup in the points order. With Yuka Leskola not being there last week, Ian Haycox jumps into that second position, 22 points back of Javier Del Olmo. Robert Plumley, only 6 points back himself of that second position, looking in a good spot to try and challenge Ian, with Jamie Hamill-Smith falling back to Robert Plumley by 1 position. He's only 1 point back of Plumley, however, and Yuka Leskola 5 points back, but Yuko is here today. He's actually tied with Reed Miller for that 5th position, so that makes things very interesting for the two of them. Then we got Andreas Schuster, whose consistency has been a little lacking towards the middle portion of the season, 6 points back of that 5th position. Hideki Koivisto, Emerson Gaudin, and Doug Cloud round out your top 10.
As for today's race, it's the traditional fare for the Camel GT series. They're 40-minute sprint formats, and we are into the second half of the season now here into round 7. Now, it's an open setup series, and you got to imagine that a lot of drivers probably going to try and put some wing into it in the Nissans here today. We'll see who can try and trim that out and be fast on the front stretch where a lot of the passes are expected to be made. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and disqualification at 25 incidents, along with no spare car as usual in case you come across any sort of damage out there today. Right now, Laust Olsen, as much as I've been saying he's been lacking a bit of speed lately, well, he's got the provisional pole today. So, in fact, Heitor Sintes Galindo is all the way down in 5th, but that's only 3/10 from 1st to 5th. So it is very tight at the top, and there's no guarantees for Laust. No surprises that Yuko is our pole sitter in the GTOs.
Yeah, the big surprise, though, is Javier Del Olmo on his second lap, which is the only lap that counted for him, only is good enough for 5th position. So starting behind Reed Miller, Ian Haycox, and Marty Ollie, this is going to be very interesting to see whether or not he can claw his way forward and reduce the points gain that Yuko Leskala is going to have over him, and also his championship competitors, Reed Miller and Ian Haycox, who are in 2nd and 3rd right now.
Yeah, 1.3 seconds between Leskala and Del Olmo. So that's a pretty wide gap, but it's still about half a second between Leskala and Miller on the front row of that class. This is Joseph Mudrack that we're seeing come around here, but he's already taken both of his laps. And then Jeffrey Furcon is just finishing his second one in the Nissans right now, which is a 1:17.4. So that's going to keep him in 18th position. Everybody else has set a time. That means that our grid is set here today for a rather decent-sized field, but we've certainly seen bigger. It'll be enough to keep us on our toes, no doubt. Let's go through that starting order here. And up on the top of the Nissans, Laust Olsen has taken the pole. Can he convert it to his first win of the season? We'll see whether or not that'll be the case with Nick Mukanos to his outside, and Matthias Havdahl, known for being a quick driver on his good days, could challenge that. He'll start from 3rd. Ove Trangrade, fast, but sometimes a little mistake prone, will start from 4th. Heitor Sintes Galindo, 2nd in the points. Can he get enough points to actually overtake Sanchez? He needs at least 11. We'll go over where he needs to be about that in a little bit later. Fabian Jungblue starts from 6th with Joseph Mudrack in 7th. Then it's Alexius Tapia Vico in P8. Row 5 has Inatani on the inside and Suarez on the outside. On the next slide, it is Gianluca Gabbiani starting from 11th. Seamus Power will start from 12th position, and Jack Wells P13. Roman Bello is going to be 14th, followed by Cam Porter. Then it's Nicholas Morelli in 16th, Daniel Stimon in the 17th position. Last two to set times, the Nissans are Jeffrey Furcon and Javier Mascara, with Nigel Charman starting from last in that GTP field.
And then we have the Audis with Yuko Leskala taking 6/10 of Reed Miller for the pole position. Reed lining up in 2nd for the first time in quite a while. Ian Haycox lines up behind Reed Miller when he was ahead of him last race to start out with. We'll see whether Ian can make a pass on Reed and then hold him off like he did last week. Marty Ollie is going to start off in the 4th position, returning to a good form for qualifying here at Phillip Island, with Javier Del Olmo lining up in 5th. A bad qualifying for him, unfortunately. Then we have Jamie Hamill-Smith in the 6th position, with Henry Charman in 7th, Robert Plumley down in 8th position with Emerson Gaudin in 9th, and Stefan Leslie rounding out your top 10. Then we have Mika Tupelo lining up in 11th position with Dustin Dawes in 12th. Michael Haynes returns to the series in 13th with Carlos Fonseca, unfortunately far off the pace in 14th, about 6 seconds off of the time of Michael Haynes. And then our lone non-qualifier, Alexander Martin, is going to start off in the 15th position. That rounds out your 15 Audis here today, 35 drivers. So it's about, about a 60-40 split in lieu of the GTPs.
Yep, which is going to make life difficult for those Audis, no doubt, with having a slightly more favoring those faster class cars. We have 2 drivers giving us their onboard cams here today. First one being our pole sitter, actually, with Laust Olsen. So that'll be fun to watch. Pucker Cam is back once again. We had him earlier this morning in the Lotus 49s, and he did pretty decent over there. And then we have Cam Porter in the number 27, starting from 15th position. A little bit towards the back end of the field, as chipper as always and ready to go for this race. And the good news is it looks like the conditions are pretty decent. The wind is gusting a bit, I'm seeing, because it's up and down. And you'll see that here probably is it'll change speed a bit, even just watching this. But otherwise, at least the grip on the track itself looks like that should be pretty good for the drivers, Adam.
Yeah, winds from the west-southwest, so that's going to be a headwind as they come around turn 2. So that's actually good news for the drivers today. It's a little bit of a tailwind coming onto the front stretch, so expect to see some of the GTOs getting blown off into the gravel on the outside of that track. But the rest of the track should be fairly unaffected. You know, Lukey Heights with a little bit of a tailwind can be a little sketchy, but I think the drivers will feel fine. But, I mean, temperature's not really a factor around here, so just watch out for the sands because they will be blowing a little bit more dirt off of the beaches onto the track today. And I'm not sure that's simulated, but it sure feels like it when you're driving out here.
No doubt. And as they come down through Dewan, you got to watch out for that at the start of the race. We've seen so many drivers try to go through their side-by-side, especially in those Audis, which don't have a lot of grip through there. It can so easily go bad, and they get pushed wide into the gravel, and their race is over before they even get through the first corner. And then, of course, there's that ever-popular passing zone coming down here into Honda, Adam. I'm expecting that to be probably where most of the overtakes are going to be attempted today.
Yeah, it's where most of the overtakes will be attempted, and it's where most of the incidents will happen between classes. We see a lot of collisions. The GTPs have a lot more braking power because their cars are lighter, and they have the extra downforce for them coming into the braking for Honda. The Audis, it's a downhill braking zone, it's important to note, and the Audis don't have quite as big of brakes, and they're also heavier cars with heavier fuel and no downforce. So that means that their braking time is a lot longer than the GTPs, and you'll see a lot of GTPs dive in front of Audis and slam on the brakes and ended up getting sent down that access road that splits the track in half, and that usually is the end of your day. So it's really important to be very cautious when you're the GTPs to brake in a straight line, but also to avoid braking in front of an Audi that's close behind you, because you might find yourself turned around.
Speaking of the Audis, Ian Haycox this season has really made himself a feature on the podium. He's gotten 3 already. And I'm kind of wondering at what point does his time come and we see him take a victory down in those GTOs, because he's been just kind of flirting with it.
I'll be very interested to see if he can get a win this season. It's going to take mistakes from Reed Miller and well, at least Yuko Leskola today for that to happen. But he's definitely due, I think, at this point.
Same. And here we go. We're waiting for the green from Laust Olsen as he has control of the field. He will determine when they get to go. And he's holding them for quite some time. I think he knows that the slipstream down the front stretch is long, and there's already drivers behind him that tried to go and had to check up. So green flag is out. Olsen is off, and he gets a good jump over Mukanos. In fact, Hovdal looks like he might try and take second place coming into Dewan, and he does. Behind him, battle for fourth as well between Ove Trangarade and Sintez Galindo. Sintez Galindo going to try and go the long way around of the southern loop, but we got to go back to the GTOs.
A mischief for Ian Haycock sends him back in the pack. Hovdal almost passed him, so Ian Haycock's back to 6th position. A good start for Reed Miller and Yuko Leskola, but Reed Miller pushed out wide. Looks like he's a little bit loose on this start, but it's a very tight start, actually. A nice pass from Marty Ollie, trying to make the pass up the inside, coming out of the second turn. Now into Honda. Reed Miller's got the nose ahead, and he's going to keep it, I think, as they go to the braking zone, but Yuko Leskola already free and clear.
So Plumley up into 4th as well. Hamill Smith into 5th, or is Ian Haycock's going to take that one back? He's going to have to do it the long way around the outside coming into Siberia, and it looks like he's managed it and is just able to out-accelerate that 21 car. So up towards Lukey Heights, past Hayshed at the highest point of the circuit. Already the GTPs are completing a lap, with Olsen still leading Hovdal and Mukanos still in 3rd.
It was a great start for the GTPs to get away cleanly. Lots of good drafting going on right now. Laust Olsen has Hovdal tucked in behind him. We know that Hovdal likes to run low downforce around here, whereas Laust tends to be a little bit more measured in those cars. Be interesting to see how that pays off for both of them over the course of this race. I can report that it looks like Emerson Gaudin's had a little bit of an issue coming through MG. He's recovered and is trying to make his way back forward, now dropped out to 12th position. But yeah, the GTP's off to a good start. Jamie Hamill-Smith and Ian Haycock side by side as they go through Dewan.
And that's down into the southern loop as they try to outdo one another once again. And once again, Ian Haycox will come out ahead. So Hamill Smith being a little bit of a thorn in the side of the 13 here today.
Ian Haycox taking wisdom from the phrase, you can't win if you get past. So he just tries to keep everyone behind him. And he learned a lot last week about how to do that. Oh! Yugo Leskala, a mistake has been made. He goes deep in Honda. That's going to send him back to at least 5th position.
Wow. Leskala has had multiple moments like that this season, and I'm not sure what is up with that #1 car, but has not been on his usual flawless form. So he'll have some work to do as we now look at the battle for the lead in the GTPs and around the outside through Doohan. There goes Hovdal, and there's our answer on that battle between downforce settings.
Absolutely, but Laust Olsen just needs to be patient. He needs to cling to the back of Hovdal, keep him within range, because even though the temperature's not that high on this track is absolutely disastrous for rear tires for these GTPs because of the amount of low-speed corners. We've had another wreck in the GTPs. Looks like Nigel Sharman has gone off on the second turn.
So he goes to the dead end of the field, unfortunately, down to 20th, as we watch them now climb out of Siberia, pass through Hayes Shed. So Hovdal, even through the twistier parts, looks like he's starting to pull away. It's about 0.8 of a second now up to Lukey Heights. Mukanos also gaining on Laust Olsen. This is not looking good for the 9. His qualifying may have been promising, but race pace so far is a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. So Laust definitely needs to keep up with Matthias Hovdal if he wants to try and stay with him, but it's possible he took a little bit too much downforce today. We'll find out and see whether or not Nick Mukanos making the swap over to the GTP from the GTO series last season, as Hovdal puts in the fastest lap. Mukanos trying to cling to the back of Laust Olsen and get by.
It's like that's not quite going to create a pass there this time. Been watching through the rest of the field. There are some decent battles in the middle of the pack. I'm looking at Joseph Mudrak being trailed by 2 other cars for 7th right here coming down into Honda. That's Tapia Vico and Inatani, both behind him.
Yeah, absolutely, and these GTPs still pretty much nose to tail at this stage in the race, and we're going to see it this way until they catch up to the GTOs, which they are going to catch up to them in about half a lap's time, maybe less. They might catch up to them actually as they come through Doohan, because some of the GTOs are falling back. Michael Haynes about 10-15 seconds off of our leader in the GTOs. Oh, look at this. A nice move down the inside for Ian Haycox, trying to take a look at Robert Plumley as they're all battling Marty Ole and Yuko Leskala at the back of this pack for that 2nd position.
Very late look there from Ian Haycox. All of them scrunching together with that slipstream down the front stretch, including Leskala at the back of it. And here's another go for Plumley, this time on Marty, just in front of him. Swings to the inside, tries to see if he can get the overlap down to the corner, and he does manage to take the apex away, but he's going to have to out-accelerate him, and he does not, as Marty Ollie is going to remain in 2nd place. Reed Miller still leads all 4 of them here.
Ian Haycox trying to do a good job of taking advantage of the mistakes being made up ahead of him, trying to sneak it up the inside of Plumley. Yuko Leskala looking on. Ian Haycox does manage it. That was a great exit there coming off of that 2nd hairpin. Fantastic move from Ian Haycox to jump a spot.
All right, so back up into 3rd where he started this race. Can he go farther forward from that? And does he have the pace to maybe chase down?
Oh, Cam Porter!
Oh, Cam Porter off the track, unfortunately. And it looks like he's going to be able to get it going once again. He will be ahead of the 31 of Nigel, but he's basically at the back of the field himself as well. It's been a bit tough for some of those Nissans out there. Looking back forward at Laust Olsen, still hovering at about 0.7 behind Hovdal, so he hasn't been dropping anymore. Might be a pass behind him. Look at that. That's Trangarade on Nick Mukanos. And will they have a chance to use a pick? Nope. Looks like the Audi drivers are trying to stay out of the way.
And these leaders are catching up to some very intense battles in the GTOs for 9th position, but also for 3rd and 4th and 2nd and 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th. Look at these battles of the GTOs that are going on side by side, as our leaders of the GTPs are going to be closing up in on them on the twistiest part of the circuit.
Absolutely. This battle for second has just grown because now they've got, it looks like Henry Charman, Jamie Hamill-Smith. And who is that?
That's Emerson Gowden, and we have to see a replay of this. I can't believe nobody else got involved in this incident. This was a missed braking opportunity into Honda, and he almost decked the entire field, Joe.
It's so easy to break too deep into that corner. We've seen it multiple times where you become a bowling ball. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if we'll be able to get to it right now, because look at them trying to battle their way past this absolute train of GTO cars. And so far, Hovdal is able to successfully navigate his way through, weaving past, but Laust Olsen making it close on both entry and exit. Same thing with the likes of Heitor Sintez Galindo and Nick Mukanos back there, and not even a pucker factor here from Laust Olsen.
Nick Mukanos going around the outside, as well as Heitor Sintez Galindo of the two-part battle between Ian Haycox and Marty Ollie. Ian Haycox able to get past Marty Ollie for second position. So Alexis Tapia-Vico's off, and who's that off in the background as well? Quite a few drivers having problems as Tapia-Vico cutting the course entirely, and that is a jumping forward. That's one of the dirty torque machines, the number 29, that's Stefan Leslie, as well as Jack Wells and Gianluca Gabbiani who are spinning off. It's all going off right now.
Oh my goodness. The 19.
Oh, and Javier Tellez off as well, and he has major front end damage. That's going to end his race.
Oh, our championship leader. He's trying to return to the track and see what he can salvage out of this, but my goodness.
He got collected by the wreck between Jack Wells and Gianluca Gabbiani.
Well, this is exactly what Lescala needs now to try and run down that gap, but also Ian Haycox will be helped out by this. Actually, did he make? Yes, he did. He did make it through. He's into second now with that move that he made on Marty. So, the 13 has got an open goal to try and take the points lead potentially. However, he'll be tied if Del Olmo does retire from here and he finishes second. He's still got to beat Miller if he wants to take the top spot. So he will have to take the win if he wants to try and really insert himself into the equation here. Ooh. Meanwhile, behind, though, Lescala is still charging.
Yeah, Yuka Lescala just made the pass on Marty Ollie, and Ian Haycox actually missed doing quite a bit going off track. So now they've got Alexis Tapia-Vico, who's trying to recover himself from an incident, and Yuka Lescala has a run, but he can't take it because of Tapia-Vico. Contact, that is, Ian Haycox is gonna save it. No, he overcorrects.
And straight into the barrier. Oh, I thought he had managed to avoid that, and suddenly it all went south. He must have either just barely gotten tipped or just unsettled by that car. I thought maybe that it was going to be Lescala caught up in it innocently on this one, but he kind of chopped off Tapia-Vico. I don't know.
Yeah, but the Audi has to take that line, Joe. It can't stay on the outside of the corner at speed. He has to turn in at that point. And I think that he didn't quite commit hard enough, and neither did Tapia-Vico. And so with that miscommunication, that lack of confidence from both of them ended up in the accident.
But what this does is Lescala and Plumley are now sitting in a good position. Hamill-Smith lesser so, as he's fourth in the points, but also down in sixth right now. So they're all going to gain on both Del Olmo and Haycox out there. Let's take a look at some of our replays.
So this is Emerson Gowden, who absolutely misses the braking zone, and look at how close he gets to everybody.
That
it doesn't get closer than that, Joe. I've seen a lot of incidents through here.
Threading the needle doesn't even begin to describe. How did he miss every single one there?
Loss of heads-up driving from the GTPs, honestly, is what happened.
I don't know if that's heads-up or sheer dumb luck, but sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. And here is Tapia-Vico in a completely separate incident than, who was this out here?
This is the 29 of Stefan Leslie, who had to go on off-roading in road-based GTO, which is not exactly what you're supposed to do. And then here's the incident between Stefan Leslie, I believe, and a couple of the other. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is what took out Javier Del Olmo.
Massive incident there. Drivers just going at a high rate of knots at that point on the track, and unfortunately, just as Tapiavico's trying to return to the track. Later on, I guess they were distracted by that bright pink car returning, and somebody was not listening to their spotter.
And one last incident here. This is what happened to Ian Haycox. There was contact between the two of them. And
So
Ian tried to save it, but couldn't quite get it going and ends up overcorrecting. And that one's going to put you, that one's going to send you to the care center for sure.
That looks like ghost contact to me. I think that was netcode that elicited that. Well, if you're going to buy tickets, go get them over by the Southern Loop and Stoner, because you're going to get your money's worth, no doubt. There has been so much action over there, and we're barely 10 minutes, 13 minutes into this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Go stand on the ocean, get a nice breeze, and watch all the cars fly off towards you. That's exactly my thought. So looks like Nigel Sharman has had another incident at Honda, so he is currently trying to recover back onto the track. It's hard to keep track of what's going on track because of the fact that the incidents keep screwing up the order. So Matthias Hovdahl, as you said, Joe, leading over Laust Olsen, Nick Makanos, Ove Trangerade, and Aitor Sintes Galindo in the GTPs. We got Reed Miller over Yuko Leskola by 4 seconds, with Marty Ollie, Robert Plumley, and Henry Sharman somehow in the GTOs. Henry started this race well, like in 7th position. He's moved up forward because of the misfortune of others ahead of him, still driving a confident drive.
Wow. So yeah, the 25 car is definitely doing pretty well, but then you have to give credit to Marty Ollie, who's the number 22, running in 3rd right now. He's up 1 position. But this poses an interesting scenario if you're Reed Miller, because surely you got to be thinking Leskola's probably faster than me, and I'm looking at the lap times. Indeed, he looks relatively quicker. So can he hold him back? Because there's plenty of time left, and Yuko's probably going to be able to gun him down.
I think the goal is to conserve tires as much as possible right now, and then when Yuko gets tucked in behind you, then you try and make your move. Jamie Hamill-Smith just made a move on Henry Sharman for the 5th position, so Jamie Hamill moving up into the top 5 after getting not a great starting spot himself. So quite a few drivers trying to take advantage of the misfortune of others and trying to, oh, what's going on here? Nick Bacanos falling behind Aitor Sintes Galindo as we had an incident on screen.
I think that was Sharman that just went off there. Yeah, that is the 25 that had lost it going deep down into
Plumley's off. Robert Plumley is off. What is going? This is a wild race, Joe.
And that was all Plumley. Earlier, he just watched Sharman go past him, I think. No, that was Hamill-Smith, actually, that watched him. So Hamill-Smith watched a car breeze by off into the runoff in a Honda.
And Reed Miller's out.
And now gone through. What in the world?
Reed Miller.
Is this traffic again?
No, Reed Miller looks like he had a hardware failure.
I'm watching myself. Yeah, he suddenly slows and pulls over. Yeah, I think you're right. I think something went wrong with the car, or maybe his internet connection. Whatever the case, he's out, and Yuko Leskola, in spite of everything, is somehow back to the lead of this race.
And now we're watching the battle for P3 in the GTPs as they're closing in behind Henry Sharman for the 4th position. Aitor gets pushed out, and Trangerade sympathetically follows him.
That was a bad decision on both their parts. Trying to go around the outside of the Southern Loop was not going to work, and they both paid the price right there. So both of them losing multiple positions, and that certainly gives Nick Mukanos free reign in that 3rd position. And in fact, he's about 4 seconds ahead of Joseph Mudrack now. He's the only one of the 3 that went to the inside there.
And here's Fabian Nungbluth and Joseph Mudrack, speaking of the two of them, as they're duking it out between each other for the 4th position, as Mudrack gets picked by Jungbluth there, as that was Henry Sharman, who just had to take his racing line and let the 2 GTPs streak by. Now they've got Inatani, who, I mean, Inatani started this race in the 9th position, has been trying to claw his way forward as they go past Jamie Hamill-Smith, who has now inherited 3rd position. Oh my goodness.
And people did not learn their lessons from the Southern Loop, because through Swan, Hamill Smith got split, and I thought Mudrack was also going to go off into the gravel, as that's a very fast corner. He would have been in the barriers there, but that gives it up to Inatani, who is now up to 5th.
So most weeks, I'm really envious of these guys and want to be out there driving. Not this week. Not this week. This week, my blood pressure is high enough in the booth.
It's been action-packed. We kind of expected that out of today. We're just about halfway through this thing, so there's that. Oh, and Sharman just went off again. Yep. Plumley gets another position.
All of his own accord, unfortunately, so Sharman falling back into the 5th position. Looks like he really wants 5th today. Everyone except for Yuko Leskala, who is still running in this race in the GTOs, currently is up from their starting grid positions as we watch Carlos Fonseca return to the track after his own incident. Well, actually, sorry, that wasn't Carlos Fonseca. Carlos Fonseca, I should mention, is up 8 positions from his starting position in the GTOs, currently in 6th. Jeffrey Furcon has gone off in Honda now.
Not the first, won't be the last, and I can confirm that Reed Miller has dropped internet connection. Now, we don't know if that is the cause that sent him off, but that certainly finished him off, if you will, and ensure that he will have to come back and just cruise around. As what happened to the 31? That's Nigel Sharman once again. Both the Sharmans having trouble keeping it on the track, but one a little bit higher up the order than the other.
All right, so there's still a race going on, right, Joe?
Well, I mean, with the track more so than the other drivers, I'd say.
It sure seems like it.
In the meantime, we're back to Jungbluth once again, and it seems like Inatani's trying to play catch-up, but so is Mudrack. He's still in this. And don't count out 8 Torcentes Galindo. We know that at times he can be quite fast, so the 4 could be rocking up to the back of them pretty soon, trying to make up for his off at the Southern Loop a little bit ago.
Absolutely. So this is the best battle on track at the moment is between Inatani and Mudrack. As the rest of the battles, well, I should say the battle for 8th position, the GTPs, is also close between Power, Suarez, and Trangarade. But most of the other battles have separated out to the tune of 1 to 2 seconds, some over 4 seconds. But yeah, the track is absolutely what drivers are wrestling with today.
So I was trying to do a little bit of quick estimations on the GTO Championship. I think this is going to put Leskala and Hamill Smith in 2nd and 3rd. I'm not sure in which order, because they might actually be tied on points if they finish as they are. But it's certainly looking interesting as here on track of a Trangarade, and watching the battle between Suarez and Power. This is for 8th place with all 3 of them just jockeying for position as they head towards Honda corner. You got to be careful here. Inside goes to Power. He breaks a little bit deeper and is going to take the apex away from Suarez. But here comes Trangarade from behind them.
Trangarade definitely is a little quicker than both of these guys. Power is up 4 spots from his starting spot at 12th, so doing a good job himself. Trangarade trying to recover from an early incident that brought him from 4th all the way down to 10th where he is now, so he's got some work to do.
Up through Lukey Heights as they come over the crest and then break down into MG. Going as deep as he dares, but Trangarade can't quite get close enough to make a pass. Can he maybe do something down the front stretch? Let's see who gets the better run along the Gardner straight out of Swan. And they're all a little too far apart from what it looks like.
Oh, and we have another driver off. That's Dustin Dawes in the 26th machine. The GTOs currently 10th. Not really under any pressure from anyone behind him. Michael Haynes, about 2 seconds behind, is our leader. Sorry, our second place driver in the GTPs. Streaks by Laust Olsen, 5 seconds behind Hobdahl. And unfortunately, there's not that much traffic that will increase his hopes of trying to make it past Hobdahl. He's got the hope that Hobdahl makes a mistake, but I mean, it seems like a 50-50 shot at this point that the driver ahead of you is going to make a mistake today. The question is, do they make a mistake before you do?
Exactly. You got to focus on your own race just as much out there. Make sure you keep it together. And while we don't have a whole lot of close battles, it seems, down to the Audis anymore, there are a couple trios. So you can see one of them right here in the prototypes with Jungbluth, Inatani, and Mudrack all vying for 4th position. And then we were watching before the battle between Power, Suarez, and Trangrade. That's for 8th spot. Let's see who does it well down the Gardner straight amongst them. Mudrack's pretty close to Inatani. He's going to feel the effects of that slipstream, but it's not a long enough straight by the time they hit Doohan.
Yeah, not long enough slate, and he was not close enough. So unless he wants to dive it down the inside here, which you can do, it's just risky. He does not, but Inatani covers it off anyway. Goes quite a bit wide, using up quite a bit of rubber on that right side, able to hang on to it. Oh, a battle between Emerson Gaudin and Stefan Leslie ends up sending Laus Olsen off into the grass. Unfortunately, that's going to send him from 2nd. He's still parking. He's still trying to get back onto track, down to 10th, 11th. He can't get this thing going.
You can see he's watching his screens, trying to find a good opening, and now he does. This one's worth a replay, honestly. And I have to ask the question of you, since you've been down there in the trenches in this series, Adam, once you see this. Is this, he had to make this move to try and keep from losing too much time, or is he being impatient?
Neither. I think this was just a... I mean, I guess you chalk it up to impatience, just because trying to go 3 wide into Honda is never going to work out for you. It's just not. But, you know, he wants to catch up to Hovdal, but at the same time, that was an outward move from the GTO to try and keep Laust from interfering with that battle. Didn't really work out for any of them.
No, it did not. Yeah, I think if I would have seen the battle for position, I maybe would have waited until out of the corner. Let's head up ahead of him, though, because Power and Suarez are still fighting hard for 7th position. And they almost had a swap of places. And in fact, Ove Trangrade also hasn't given up on this. They come upon yet more traffic in front of them at a time they don't want it. That's going to be Carlos Fonseca up there ahead of them.
And they've almost closed the gap up to Aitor Sentis Galindo. This could become a 6-way fight for the 4th position, Joe.
Well, that'll get fascinating, no doubt, especially if they continue to have to weave through this traffic. We've lost a few drivers in the process. Alex Martin, Ian Haycox, Alexis Vico, Reed Miller, and Jack Wells are all retirees of our 35-car field. 15 minutes left to go. Still plenty of time to lose more, but let's cross our fingers there aren't that many.
Absolutely. So, look at this. Pablo Suarez having to go around the outside, everyone having to go around the outside. The question is, who's got the draft? It looks like Seamus Power has got a good draft on Suarez. He's going to look to the inside. Is Ove Trangrade going to make it 3 wide? He thinks better of it. Backs out. They'll let these two duke it out. Power smokes on by Suarez. This means Trangrade is a little bit caught out. Can't quite make a move on Suarez. Oh my goodness, coming over that crest is so dangerous. The car wants to slide out from behind you as they're trying to apply power to get the speed going. Charman staying to the outside this time as he gets forced out there by Seamus Power. These GTPs doing their best to navigate through the top 5 runners of the GTOs cleanly.
I'd have to say that all 3 of these guys are smart enough to know not to squeeze the Charman. So as Suarez continues to try and chase on Seamus Power, Robert Plumley tries to stay out of the way now. Ove Trangrade just behind Pablo, hoping that he makes an ill-timed move and is able to pick it up. Up in front of them, it is now a battle for 2nd. Mukanos, wasn't he farther ahead of Jungbluth?
He was. This now may become a 7-way battle for 2nd if Seamus Power can close the gap to Aitor Sentis Galindo. Because Inatani and Mudrack are right on the back of Jungbluth and Nick Mukanos.
Man, I am impressed with Inatani. I want to say we've seen him out here before, but it's been a while. And it's been an excellent race for him, up 5 positions. And somebody's off. That's Nigel Sharman. He's going to stay out of the way. Looks like he had an issue coming through the southern loop. Here we go. Joseph Mudrack with a good run, but he's going to be on the outside coming along into the braking of Honda. And will Aitor Sentis Galindo be able to capitalize on that? He's trying.
Oh, and behind them, Pablo Suarez pushes Seamus Power off track. This got argy-bargy all the way from the 2nd turn down into Honda. This is worth a replay.
Sad to see that one go that way, because up till then it was a pretty good battle, very respectful between the three of them. And maybe tempers just got a little too hot, or patience got a little too low in the process. I think we're trying to spool that one up. There we go. We're going to take a look at Mukanos first up, and him getting checked up.
Ooh. Yeah, that would lose you a couple seconds for sure.
So that's why it's suddenly under so much more pressure. I can tell you that Power's actually off track live right now as we take a look. And yeah, 17, I think maybe just outbraked himself a little. 18, unfortunately, wound up the victim there.
Oh, and while we're in this, Inatani unfortunately spins out coming through turn 2. I just talked about it last lap, how hard it was to keep those cars going over the top of that crest as the rear end wants to slide out, and that's exactly what happened to Inatani there. Unfortunately, now trying to get himself back going, he's going to go from fourth rather, all the way down to 10th.
It's a spin completely on his own as well. Just overdrove that one into it. So down to P10, as you mentioned. This promotes Mudrack up to 4th. Sintez Galindo back to 5th, where he started this race. And for what I'm sure was him hoping to try and take maximum points, he's probably going to be a little bit disappointed. Even still, is he going to take the lead over Sanchez? Yeah, he's still going to take the points lead over Sanchez, just not by a whole lot. And poor Laust Olsen is still going to lose quite a few points to the points leader here, with his many behind Sanchez and about 22 behind Aitor Sintez Galindo. So interesting championship situation as the second half of the season kicks off.
Yeah, and I thought the last 2 weeks were wild, but this week has been absolutely turbulent. And Laust Olsen trying to improve his lot, trying to get up one more position from Daniel Sitzman. Let's see whether or not he can do it. Comes around the outside, the inside rather, and is able to get that pass done.
So moving up into 11th, that'll give him 10 points. And he's 33 points behind Sanchez, so it's not even going to get him close enough. It'll barely put him within one win of Sanchez. And that's not exactly what he's looking for. Goes by the other race leader, Yuko Leskala, who is going to get a handy 25 if he continues how he sits. He's 14 seconds ahead of Marty Ali. That's with him having it off earlier.
Yeah, but he had one off. Everyone else behind him wrecked out. Believe it or not, Yuko Leskala today is the most consistent driver in the Audi field at the moment.
Well, the one thing that won't be a one-off is another win here for Yuko Leskala. I have a feeling he's going to try and keep rifling these off in hopes that he can take the championship side by side, though, in the meantime, between Mudrack on the outside through the southern loop and Jungbluth to the inside. The white and blue number 8 is going to keep him at bay, but for how long? Mudrack tries to come back with a better exit out of the southern loop. He'll get the inside of Stoner, the outside of Honda. And as deep as he does break, it's not going to be enough, while Aitor Sintez Galindo regains some ground once again.
Absolutely. So these two guys battling for the 3rd position, last spot on the podium, with Aitor Sintez Galindo looking on. You need to be careful because Nick Makanos is running away. It's about half a second every couple of turns with these two battling. Mudrack's going to look to the inside of Lukey Heights as Jungbluth tries to sweep around the outside. Oh my goodness, the downforce just on the edge of grip there. But here we go, closing in behind some lap traffic is Nick Makanos. Nick able to get by Gianluca Gabbiani, a lapped GTP. Jungbluth, Mudrack, and Galindo are going to do their best to try and streak by Gabbiani as well. It's going to be tight here on the front stretch.
All the lap cars and the GTPs are trying to stay off to the side, although Jungbluth pulling a toe off of Nick Mukanos. That's for position.
Yes.
Is Mukanos damaged?
He's had straight line speed issues all day, but Jungbluth streaking by. Nick Makanos has been able to regather it every single time. Let's see if he could do it again. Mudrack couldn't get by, neither could Sintez Galindo. It's now a 4-way fight for second.
That was, I'm looking at the speed difference. Holy cow, that was 8 miles an hour faster for Fabian Jungbluth down the straight. Surely something is wrong with the 11's car.
I don't think he took that much downforce today, yes. So something's definitely got to be wrong as Nick McConnell gets clipped a little bit by Gaudin, manages to keep it going. We've had a couple more wrecks in the GTPs. Daniel Sitzmont and Nigel Charman both having their own incidents, both Charman taking a tow and Sitzmont getting back onto track. But my goodness, this track is absolutely ringing people out today.
It is. Unfortunately, not many are able to make lemonade out of the lemons that are being squeezed from this track. So 8 minutes left to go. And now
I would be surprised, Joe, if we saw some drive-thrus today.
You know, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that. We mentioned it, but it's not a circuit where we often discuss that being a big concern. So, and mostly with the car contacts that we've seen, and I thought Jungbluth was going to run into the back of another GTO. Javier Del Olmo just about chopped him off.
Javier Del Olmo trying to keep himself going as these GTPs continue to duke it out for the second position. Nick McConnell is able to gain on Jungbluth because of that almost incident with Javier. Look at how much deeper onto the brakes he goes. So even though you may not have the straight line speed, Nick McConnell definitely has the braking capacity to try and close up to the back of Jungbluth. In fact, he's trying to challenge Jungbluth right now.
So it's now a four-way fight to decide second, while Matthias Hovdal has had it all his own way up at the front. I'm pretty sure, though, he's going to have to play it safe to the end with how many drivers have fallen victim to bad decisions in the traffic. Nearly a move on Mudrack from Sintez Galindo, but it doesn't stick.
And now they're trying to go around Henry Charman, who's trying to battle with Robert Plumley for the fourth position in the GTOs. That battle's going to get broken up by these GTPs as Mudrack has to go on the outside, gets squeezed, and there goes Galindo. Mudrack manages to hang on to it.
Wow, the split moves that a lot of these drivers are making, I'm surprised we haven't seen more incidents out there. Mudrack maybe even getting a small side swipe on Plumley. Sintez Galindo back up to fourth position. Mukano's still ahead of him, and Mukano's now going slow.
Misshift? Or is it blown engine? It's a blown engine.
Oh, man. And that is day over for Nick Mukanos. Everybody behind him now promoted up one position. I guess the jump over from the Audis wasn't quite what he was hoping for today, although he certainly looked like he had the speed.
Yeah, had the speed, but man, this has been an atrocious track, to say the least. This place has absolutely brought these drivers to their knees. There is very few drivers who have not had some sort of off today, and it is continuing as we're closing in on the last 5 minutes.
Can I give a little bit of a love to one driver that's kept it safe and been capitalizing? Javier Mascara in the number 10 is up 12 positions from 19th, and that's with qualifying. He did put a lap in out there, so everybody's been having a rough day, maybe except for this pink and white machine.
Mascara usually like duking it out with people in the middle of traffic. Today it's been pretty quiet for him, but he's been doing a lot of nice passes, so good work for him to get his way up in that field. Let's see whether or not we can take a look at what happened with
Mukanos here. Yeah,
Mukanos here.
Listen. Yeah, just, I guess, shifted down when it meant to shift up, and away she went. Car does not like that. So he pulled it off, thankfully, very safely. Nobody was in trouble of running into him, and was able to calmly park it, but not sure how calm he's going to be inside that cockpit. Is this Jungbluth? No, that's Furcon, excuse me.
Yes, this is Furcon, who has had his own moment on the outside of MG. I think he probably slid it coming into MG and just ended up out there. There comes a report that Robert Plumley, right here, he had an interesting moment when he got clipped by a GTP and sent off in turn 2. Let's take a look at this one.
All right, so this is down into the southern loop. You're going to see it after this fast right-hander.
And
Ooh.
not much he could do. He's committed to the corner at that point.
Wow, look at him keep it out of the barriers, though, drifting it along the tires and somehow not running into the side. So at least he's out and still going, but he's in 5th at this stage.
Lars Olsen's just had a problem. He's just gone off on turn 2.
So,
And this was of his own volition. Unfortunately, just took it too deep through Doohan and into turn 2, and that sent him almost into the tire barriers himself. Managed to keep it out of them, but lost 3 or 4 positions, back down to 11th now.
And I think we are at about 3 laps to go here, potentially, as Hovdal just crossed the line. As we watch that battle for P2, with Jungbluth leading Sintez Galindo and Mudrak down through Doohan. 17 seconds behind Matthias Hovdal at this point, which is a pretty significant chunk.
Yeah, 17 seconds for the lead of the GTPs, 20 seconds for the lead of the GTOs. It's been... It's a graveyard out there today, Joe.
And only 2 more minutes of it before the whistle blows and the graveyard shift is over. So we watch them fly towards the top of the hill now. And it looks like Jungbluth is starting to stretch his legs and keep them at bay. Battle for 3rd instead of 2nd now. Sintez Galindo having to play defense on Mudrak, as well as Ove Trangrade. Ove now only 1 down from where he started this race. Quite the impressive return for the 12 after also having his own off earlier on. Coming down the Gardner Straight, though, I don't see any of them close enough to one another.
Now it looks like Jungbluth up ahead is able to squeeze through a nice gap in the Audis. Let's see whether or not the same can be said for these guys. They go past the very slow Ian Haycox and now around the relatively not slow Stefan Leslie, and able to do so with good efficiency. So they've got Cam Porter, who's running with a little bit of off the pace himself, up ahead of them that they have to lap. But they're going to catch Cam and Mika Tupla here at the wrong time. So let's see whether or not this benefits Mudrak or Trangrade here.
Keeping watch on them, and I'm also keeping half an eye on Hovdal. Here's the view from Cam Porter, and very, very focused right now, even though he's not really racing anybody. He wants to make sure that he stays predictable with those leaders coming up behind him. White flag is out for Matthias Hovdal now as he crossed the line.
Absolutely, and we're watching from the rear of Cam as he's just trying to stay out of the way of these other GTPs. Gonna duck to the inside here and let them by. Good clean move there. As just up ahead, Mudrak gets held up by Emerson Gowden. Ove Trangrade's gonna have an opportunity for a pass.
So off to the outside of Doohan, but it'll give him the inside into the southern loop if he can complete it there, and he doesn't need to. He's ahead by the exit of Doohan. Oh, but they're going to split him yet again, and that's what sent Trangrade off before. This time he keeps it from flying off into the grass, so at least he learned something there, but Mudrak got the spot back.
And Joe, your champion Javier Mascara, I believe was short on fuel. 5.6 seconds in the box for him, unfortunately.
Oh.
So had to take a pit stop and lose all that time and positions that he gained.
However, he's still 8 up from where he started. He's still in 11th, so he actually might wind up a hard charger anyway, tied with Carlos Fonseca. In the meantime, let's go to Matthias Hovdal out of Swan Corner in the number 2 car with a victory here today in Australia. And Jungbluth, ooh, it's going to be tight on if he can take second or not. Sintez Galindo still hounding him. He's got to get a good exit here onto the main straight. Sintez Galindo, though, doesn't look like he's close enough to slipstream by. He's going to be able to pull forward, but Fabian with an excellent second. Sintez Galindo getting 3rd, but probably wanted those 5 more points for the win to put even more distance between himself and Sanchez. Looks like Yuko Leskala is coming up the backstretch right now, past Hayshed.
Absolutely. All eyes on Yuka Leskala. A good return. Oh, one mistake. He's going to drift it. I do believe he's still on his final lap, so he's just gonna enjoy it for sure. A nice drift through probably one of the most challenging corners in racing there, and he's gonna continue to drift it here. And drifted a little bit off track, holding up Nicholas Morelli just a tiny bit, but Nicholas Morelli doesn't have anyone to fight himself. So some nice moves here, and just cruising across the line is Yuka Leskala to take the win in the GTOs.
Yeah, with him being the only one on that lap, P2 got lapped at the end there. That meant he could hot dog all he wanted. We're going to take a quick break, though, and we'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike. My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they got into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Phillip Island. This was a track that ate up quite a few cars out there. Matthias Hovdal was not amongst them as he took the victory here today. Fabian Jungbluth wound up in second place, and Heitor Sentes Galindo, who came in second in the points, should be leading after this is over, even though he finished third because his main rival Sanchez was not here. Joseph Mudrack was fourth, and Ove Tranger had finished P5. After that is Pablo Suarez in at sixth. Inatani was P7, and Romain Bello, a bit of a quiet eighth, climbing up 6 positions. Seamus Power finished P9. Laust Olsen has got to be kicking himself for what could have been as well, because for a brief time he was much higher up the order, but made maybe a bit too aggressive of a move and sent him down to 10th. Javier Mascara was 11th, still taking an extra pit stop and finishing 8 up from where he originally gridded. Got to wonder what could have happened as well if he had not miscalculated on a fuel. Stimon was 12th, and Morelli was 13th. Then we get to the lap down cars. Cam Porter, P14, Jeffrey Furcon, 15th, and DNFs for Mucanos, Sharman, Gabbiani, Wells, and Tapia Vico.
Then we get to the GTOs where Yuka Leskala took a 20-second lead, and actually a lap lead at the end, over Marty Ollie, with Jamie Hamill-Smith coming home in the third position. A great recovery drive for him. Henry Jarman able to hang with it tough today to get that fourth position, with Robert Plumley squeezing into fifth. We got Carlos Fonseca in sixth today, with Emerson Gaudin in the seventh position, and Mika Tupola in eighth. Stefan Leslie in the ninth position, with Dustin Dawes taking 10th over Michael Haynes right there at the end of the race. Then we have our drivers who had bad days today. Javier Del Olmo and Ian Haycox did finish quite a few laps down. Reid Miller had a disconnect, and Alexander Martin was unfortunately did not complete the first lap.
Well, that's going to give us a chance to chat with third in the GTOs, Jamie Hamill-Smith, who was in and amongst those that were having one heck of a battle for much of the race, but it was surrounded by a lot of prototypes that were certainly making some aggressive moves today. Jamie, what was it like from inside the cockpit of that Audi?
You know, it was a pretty scary race today, but I think the awareness just was key. There was a lot of aggressive moves, a few dives, but I mean, I was fortunate that I saw a lot of them coming. Other than that, it was super fun, man. The traffic was just everywhere.
It looked like it. Now, it weaved back and forth as to who was leading this race, of eventually winding up with Leskala again. But for a brief moment, did you have any thoughts of, maybe even I could win this one?
Well, I mean, you always have that thought in the back of your head, right? I mean, finding myself in third place on a Saturday race is just such a gift as it is. But you can't help but think, maybe a prototype makes a mistake up ahead and I get something gifted to me. But at the same time, I don't really like to think of my competitors falling into misfortune.
That's understandable. Well, next time out, we head to the Nürburgring, but thankfully, it's not the Nordschleife; it's the GP course. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I think it's a good circuit. It's not my favorite, but it's a really good circuit. It's more fun in other cars, to be honest.
I can understand that as well. That was Jamie Hamill-Smith, who finished third here today in the GTOs, which will take us to our winner, Aitor Sintez Galindo, our P3 finisher over in the GTPs for Sintez Galindo, but we believe championship leader now.
Yeah, Aitor, I mean, it was a tough race out there for everyone today, but just coming in just a little bit behind Fabian right there at the end. Talk to me about your race. This one was definitely storied for you.
Yeah, well, it was eventful. Yeah, had that trouble with, an incident with, I think it was Emerson. I think he probably got punted from what I've seen on the mirror. I don't know. I might check the replay. But yeah, well, today was a race of capitalizing. Of course, Xavier is not here, so I had to capitalize on points. So that's what I tried to do. Unfortunately, today I got again unlucky with the Audis, just like Sebring as well. But yeah, in the end, P3, judging by the damage which I can see in the camera, I think I'm gonna be happy about that.
Yes, I would say so, especially considering down you were, after that damage ended up coming up, but it was a hard-fought battle out there. But yeah, talk to me about that traffic, because it seemed like the traffic was a little bit more, just a little bit more challenging today than even usual for around here.
You're right, actually. Probably it's, I don't know, the experience, or probably I find it challenging myself because, I don't know, I also try to respect the Audis as much as possible, and of course try to not get in the way of their races, of course. But Phillip Island it's not what I should say a very challenging track. Like, let's say, I don't know, any small track like Sammy Point or Alton Park. It's, I don't know, it's with a lot of long corners which you can easily get past on the outside or even the inside if you are at the exit of the corners. So I don't know, it's probably the randomness of Camel, which we all love. It's the chaos, everybody's trying to fight a race, of course, and try to, is having the race system win points. So yeah, it's in the end, it's all of us were racing. So if we are in the way of somebody, it's like, yeah, but do it quickly because I want to get this position. So in the end, I don't know, it's the usual thing in Camel, it's the Audis and the Nissans are all together. So yeah, we need to coexist. So yeah, the traffic is as usual.
Well, Aitor, congratulations on third place. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go today?
Well, the usual suspect, you guys as usual for the broadcast, my family and friends watching, the Camel community as well. And yeah, also a small shout out to Xavier, who's dealing with sickness. That's why he's not here. So shout out to him. I hope he's getting back soon. I want to see him race again and win me again, of course. So yeah, thanks guys. See you next week.
Well, we definitely give our prayers and thoughts to Javier and hope that he gets better. But thanks for talking to us, Aitor, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you next week.
That was Aitor Sintes Galindo, who finished in the 3rd position. Next up is going to be Laust Olsen, who's going to be talking to us. Laust Olsen finished in 10th today.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it started a little bit better than it finished for Laust. I talked to you a little bit last week about how without your main rivals there, did you feel like you missed a chance? And again today, you started very well, and you didn't have Sanchez here to worry about, only Sintes Galindo, and things kind of fell apart. What are the emotions after that?
Oh, I'm really angry at myself. It was all my own doing. I made some very stupid decisions in traffic. And my apologies to Stefan Leslie, Emerson Godin, and Robert Plumley, who were at the receiving end of my stupidity. So there, I blew it all away once again.
Yeah. It's still what looks like 11 points, so this will gain you on Sanchez, if not on Sintes Galindo. So this will put you, I believe, this will keep you in 3rd in the points after this one. We're into the second half of the season. So what do you do from there? Because at times you do seem to be able to keep pace with those two guys. It almost feels like this season hasn't really been coming together like previous ones.
Yeah, I'm still struggling a lot in traffic. Pace-wise, on a clear track, I think I'm not as fast as Matthias Haftal. Congrats to him, but similar pace as Aitor, I believe, and many times also Sapia. So, but in traffic, I'm either losing too much time or I'm making these stupid decisions out of despair. So I need to work on that and get my head together and stop making those stupid mistakes.
Well, I mean, the honesty is appreciated on that. This certainly not over yet, but clearly there's work to do. Well, we hope to see you next time at the Nürburgring, and best of luck, sir.
I'll be there. Hope to see you too. Thanks.
Laust Olsen, who finished 10th. And then one last one. We've got 14th place finisher Cam Porter with Adam Lindgren.
And wasn't the best day for Laust, and not the best day for Cam necessarily either. Yeah, that look on the face definitely tells a story. But yeah, Cam, I mean, you were off track at one point and just didn't seem to be the day for you. Talk to me about your race today.
Well, not my race, obviously. I felt like going into this race, I was feeling pretty good about my chances, even though I still qualified at the back. I was coming off a pretty fun race in the GTO yesterday, but I was having a very heated battle with Jack Wells, and unfortunately he helped me off the track, and that just kind of made me mad, and I just could not keep my car on the track after that.
Definitely understandable, but when an event like that happens, especially when you get pushed off track and the tires are hot, you're hot, I mean, how do you keep your head, how do you keep your cool and get back on the track and try and retain a little bit of consistency when everything from your emotions to your gear is on fire?
Well, obviously I didn't do that today. It's really important to just stay calm when things like that happen. Obviously, my example is a good example of that. I was upset afterwards and just kind of aggravated for the rest of the race, and that just threw me off. So, yeah, it's really important after stuff like that happens just to try to be like a Jedi, calm and at peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of calm and at peace, a very interesting track for the Camel GT series next week. It's the Nürburgring, the GP circuit. Oftentimes called a high-speed race for the GTPs with the moving chicanes of the GTOs. What are your thoughts heading into that one?
Oh, I think it's just like any other track. It's managing traffic is really important, and just trying to stay clean and make the right decisions, especially if you're driving GTP. Just don't make any rash decisions. Like Laust said today, he said he made a lot of bad decisions, and just important to keep that in mind, and pick your battles, and just don't punt any GTOs.
Well, Cam, condolences on the tough day today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you then.
That was Cam Porter, who finished down in the 14th position, unfortunately a lap down today. Back to you, Joe.
That's going to wrap us up with some thank yous, of course, naturally, to the Camel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also thank you to the team today, Adam, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race, as we mentioned, will be the Nürburgring at the Grand Prix course. Remember, we're not doing the Nordschleife there Saturday, August 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.